Hey, folks, you're listening to or you're watching the Amazing Vito show with boxing historian, comedian, writer, you name it, he's done it, and he knows a shitload about boxing. Okay, so I've had the pleasure of working with him several times. Incredibly funny man, and he's appeared in movies. He's one of my favorite movies, Cinderella Man. Lou has, with he was in that movie too. Today we're going to cover two things. We're going to cover uh, the the second fight of
Ali Liston.
Ali and Liston, and it was that famous Phantom Punch. And the reason why, it's kind of a short video, but it's going to be in black and white because it's 1965. And then I'm going to show just highlights of just the Frazier Alley 1971, and these two are rocking and rolling.
Fight of the
So
century.
let me cue this up here. There we go. Share. Okay, so let's get rocking, and we're gonna.
Arena, Lewiston, Maine, the
Okay,
World's Heavyweight Boxing Championship.
so real quick, I'm gonna turn it down because we don't need to. So
Right.
the
Fights
guy.
in the fights in Lewiston, Maine. It was scheduled for 6 months earlier in Boston, and people WBA, which was the sanctioning body, that's Steve Ellis who broadcast the first fight. He broadcast a lot of fights. Great guy. Muhammad loved him. The thing is, WBA didn't allow rematches. Why? They just didn't, and that was just arbitrary. And so, in order to get a fight with Liston originally for the title, Ali's people had to agree to a rematch in case Liston lost for some reason. And the rematch was going to be in Boston, and the odds were at that point 13-5 in favor of Liston. So they thought the first match was a fluke. And everyone who saw Liston train really worried about Ali because they said,
There he comes. Look at him.
right, they said Liston was in great shape. This is a different Liston. The day before the fight, Ali had a terrible strangulated or had a burst appendix, and he almost died. So he had to go to the hospital. Fight was delayed 6 months. Liston couldn't keep that level of fitness for 6 months, and eventually he, back to drinking booze every day, beer, hot dogs, smoking.
That's
So,
incredible.
and so the weekend before the fight, Jerry Eisenberg of the New York Star Ledger, he said, Lou, I was at Liston's training camp. When he was doing the speed bag, he couldn't get a rhythm. When he was skipping rope, he kept tripping. And in the ring, when he was sparring, he'd throw a punch, miss, and fall. And look at Liston, he's not cut at all. And he said everyone then thought he's going to fight Ali for the title. He's not in shape. Liston no longer cared at that point.
He
Thought
just like the like why mentally he just said I'm
he
just.
said I'll never get a fair shake at it. You know, and when you watch the fight, now Angelo Dundee had said in the late 50s when he saw Liston, everyone said no one could ever beat Sonny Liston. How do you beat a guy like that? And Dundee noticed that when Liston jabbed with his left hand,
Lou, what are they doing here?
right here they're posing for photographers.
Okay, because they're
Still
laughing, and
pictures. Yeah,
I never noticed that they would weigh themselves in the ring.
yeah.
I didn't know that. And
No, that was before. This
do you
is
know
now.
do you know how much Ali weighed in this fight?
I think he weighed 212, 214.
He was 206 pounds, and Sonny was 215 and a half pounds. And you compare that to heavyweights now,
It's
that's
nothing.
that's
But it's
nothing.
yeah, but as Angelo, who's right there, would say, not the size of the dog in the fight, it's the size of the fight in the dog. And what Angelo had found out is when Liston jabbed with his left hand, see, that's Milt Bailey, who was in Liston's corner the previous fight on the right there. When Liston jabbed, his head went out over his front left foot, meaning he was off balance. Sometimes his back right foot would come off the canvas. And so that's why Angelo said, and Ali used this in all his knockouts, it was called the Dundee shift. Slip, slide, bang, Angelo called it. you slip the jab, like the jab comes, excuse me, you slip the jab, slide a half inch to create an angle, short right hand on the chin or on the head. And that's what he did, and that's how he dropped Liston. It's the same way he knocked out Foreman, the same way he stopped Zora Foley, the same way he stopped Cleveland Williams, all these fighters, Jurgen Blin, Richard Dunn, all these guys that he knocked out, he did it with that move. Carl Millenberger, slip, slide, bang.
Now, a lot of people are asking, how does Lou know
George
all this?
Chavallo right there, by the way.
How does Lou know all this stuff? Why? Because Lou is on the committee, but also he was really good friends with Angelo and would
Angelo
sit there
was like a father to me.
Yeah, and watch tapes and talk to each other, and
Yeah.
it was kind of like a father-son relationship. It was
very much so.
Yeah,
Jose Torres, light heavyweight champ.
Excuse me, because the stuff that
James J. Braddock, former heavyweight champ, with
the
Willie
stuff that
Pep.
the stuff that you're saying, a lot of people have no clue. And what bothers me is I don't want people to forget this. You know, because
I'm on
this happened. Look, who's that?
That's Floyd Patterson.
That's right.
Who stood there and lost to Liston twice.
Oof.
And after this fight, was the only one in the dressing room who consoled Liston.
Didn't Patterson have the fastest hands at one point?
Yes, Ali said he had the fastest hands he ever faced. But the first fight, that's Rocky Marciano. Liston beat Patterson 2 minutes and 6 seconds. A year later, he beat him in 2 minutes and 10 seconds. And when the fight started, Patterson just stood there and took a beating. He was terrified. The great Joe Louis.
There he is.
And by the way, Joe Louis, they had the Bum of the Month Club. And most people don't know what that means.
No, I don't know what that means.
They think it means, well, he only fought bums. Not at all. He fought the best fighters of his time, but Joe Louis was so good.
He made them look like bums.
Technically, he made really good fighters look like bums.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And when people say to me, well, he fought this guy and that guy was a bum. And I'd say, wait a minute. This guy was number 2 ranked in the world. And when he fought Joe Louis, had a record of 75-2 with 70 knockouts. That's not a bum. It's that Louis was so quick and he was technically he was perfect. That's because of his trainer, Jack Blackburn, who was a great fighter in his own right. Louis finished every flurry with a left hook, because when you do that, it leaves you perfectly balanced.
So what is the mindset of Ali first? Well, let's go with Liston. What's his mindset right now, do you think?
I think Liston's thinking, I don't really have much here. I haven't trained much. He's really quick. What I'm going to do is I got to get him within a round or so. Right. I got to get him with a good shot.
So he's thinking.
Here, you see this old man here that I'm pointing to in the bow tie?
Yeah.
That old bald guy was the one who wrecked the whole fight. That's Nat Fleischer. He's there just covering. He's the editor and founder of Ring Magazine. He was only there to write an article. That's it. But he got involved in the fight.
What do you mean he got involved in the fight?
The referee, former champ Jersey Joe Walcott, when Liston went down, he calls Walcott over. He's been down for more than 10 seconds. The fight's over. And that's when people said, well, Liston took a dive. He didn't.
This is the famous, people don't know, this is the famous phantom punch.
But it's a real punch. But the problem is, if it was a real experienced referee, he would have said to Fleischer, he would have ignored him or said, keep your mouth shut. You're not involved. And he listened to this writer. It'd be like you or I going to a Leaf game saying to the referee, okay, it was a goal.
Oh, there he is. This is
Jersey Joe.
Yeah.
Very nice guy. Very cute fighter. Very slick.
Yeah, he truly was. That's the problem. I think people forget how great these guys.
Well, he beat Louis in the first fight, but they gave it to Louis. And then in the rematch, Louis knocked him out. Louis was deaf in rematches. Even when he beat you the first time, you fought him a second time, he just butchered you. Right now, Ali's listening to Angelo Dundee. He's saying, look, he's not in shape there, Liston, he's not ready to go 15 rounds. Just keep dancing.
Well, he just
make him lunge. And when he lunges, catch him coming in.
See, he just does not. He's got his head down, which
Yeah.
he always kind of did, but this he looks very different.
Yeah, there's no scowl. There's no anger like I'm going to kill you.
Yeah, like
He's just, Ali can't wait to start. And Liston's just not there. And his trainer, who we just saw, is looking at him thinking, uh-oh, what's going to happen here?
And as much as people like to put Liston as the villain, a lot of people say he was probably one of the scariest men to ever get into the ring with.
Yeah, he was. He was a very scary guy. He was a hired head breaker and leg breaker for the mob. He wasn't stupid. I mean, he was the 24th of 25th children, and he never had a chance. Didn't know when he was.
Look at that look.
Oh yeah, the baleful stare. He didn't know when he didn't know when he was born. No one knew his real birthday. No one knows exactly when he died.
Yeah, people have no idea that he had a shit life. Like,
unbelievable. His father beat him every day, to the extent when one day he didn't because he was too tired. He said to his father, "Are you all right, Dad? You didn't beat me up today."
yeah, it's heartbreaking. He had dirt floors. When he went to go visit his mom could give two shits about him.
Couldn't care less. Like,
I mean, it's just heartbreaking, and
he thought everyone would be happy when he won the title, and then he comes back to Philadelphia thinking, see, Ali's going right after him.
Yeah.
Like and when he comes back and he's all ready, they're going to give him a big reception. And the sports writer was with him. He got off the plane, not one person there to greet him. And he said, you could see Liston's shoulders just shrink. No one cares that I'm the champion. And he said, listen, I know no one likes me. No one cares, but they'll have to live with me until someone takes it off me. And Ali is just doing what he's been told by Angelo, right? See, Liston, he can't quite get his balance. His arms aren't up where they should be. He's following Ali. He should be moving laterally.
I always think he's trying his best to cut the ring off, like try and get,
He's not going about it the right way. He'd move on a diagonal to cut the ring off. He's just following Ali around. And his punches are so slow.
Now, is Ali thinking this guy could knock me down with one nice punch? So
no, Ali's thinking there's something wrong. Like, Ali's like, I'm hitting him easily. His timing is off. But boxing's not a. I mean, Dundee and Ali, here comes the right hand, but they knew that Liston wasn't in shape. They thought, well, let's tire him out and get rid of him. And it's coming up right here. Quick right hand. Okay, we'll go around again. But see, Liston just keeps falling.
Completely missed that. He didn't. It looked.
He misses everything, and then Ali's going to hit him right now. Bang. Short right hand. Now Ali's down, or Liston's down. The problem here is Ali. I mean, it was a real punch, but Ali's not going to the corner. So Liston gets up. This is why they call it a fake. He falls back down. He said he fell back down because he thought Ali would bump into him, but he's up. How can it be a fix? He's up, and then Nat Fleischer is now yelling at Walcott, hey, it's over. Come here. Come here. And Walcott should have said, you have no standing here. Look at Ali. Bang, bang. He wants to take it, and then he comes back and stops the fight. And people are starting to yell, fix. If that doesn't happen, if Nat Fleischer keeps his mouth shut, I still think Ali knocks Liston out in the first round.
Let's just watch that one more time, because it was just so. This is why
it was a short right hand. Oh, look, you see Liston there? He's lunging with his jab. His feet are off the ground. He's supposed to shoot it and get it right back. Shoot the jab out, hand right back. And if you shoot it out, you can go like this sometimes, but he's not. He's leaving himself open. He lunged. Ali hit him high on the head, which he just did the shuffle, which just combobulated him. Liston can't time him, and he's going to shoot. It's a straight, quick right hand over a really bad jab. And Ali used that same move so many times in his career. And just look how beautiful he is. I mean, that Ali beats every heavyweight that ever lived. Bang.
Oh, right.
Another right hand. It hit him there. And he's talking to him the whole time. 14 more rounds, Sonny. You better have your legs on you. 14 more rounds. You're going down soon. 14 more rounds. You starting to feel it in your lungs now? You can't hit me. Missed again. Missed again.
And Sonny was smoking and eating hot
Orgied
dogs.
himself on hot dogs, drinking beer, because he got depressed. He said, I can't keep myself in shape for 6 more months right here. Bang.
Yeah, like
The short right hand. Even Ali, when he went to the corner, now he's going crazy. He's jumping up and down. The referee, a real referee, would have said, listen, go to the corner or you're disqualified. Fight's over. And Ali's running around. I did it again. I did it again. He's a bum. Get up, you bum. He's yelling at him. Get up, you big ugly bear. Get up. Come on,
Right.
you're supposed to be so tough. Ali didn't think the punch he threw was hard enough to knock him down.
yeah, well,
His
neither
own
did
brother
I.
said it is. Look, bang. And Ali would have knocked him out there. It was. Liston was off balance and he was leaning forward. His chin was out over his front foot. And it was a short counter right hand. And Ali used that punch to knock out Zora Foley. And he used that punch to knock everyone else out. And Ali, you see him talking to Liston. Ali was really, really upset when Liston died in 1970 because he bumped into him before at a fight. And he said, Sonny, I just wanted you to know I never disliked you or hated you. It was just to build up the gate. I'd love to sit down with you sometime and just talk. And Liston died later. He never got a chance.
Yeah.
And Ali said it was the anchor punch taught to him by Stephen Fetchit, the actor who knew Jack Johnson. Basically, it was a quick right-hand counter. It landed high on the head, which discombobulates a fighter. Now, we've spoken about Joe Frazier, right?
Yeah.
Everyone knows Joe Frazier.
Yeah.
And he has a son, Marvis. I saw Marvis fight a fight in the amateurs once when there was no headgear against a guy who became champ, Tony Tubbs.
Tony Tubbs.
Tubbs threw a punch. Marvis tried to duck, and the punch hit him directly on top of the head. Marvis was temporarily paralyzed. He couldn't move.
Yeah, that's right.
So when the doctors got there, they said, well, can you feel your arms and toes? I can't feel anything. And it took a good half hour before he got the feeling back. Punches up here discombobulate you. Now, people say, well, how about when Liston got up on one knee and he fell back? And I thought originally, well, you know, when you're lying down in bed reading or in a chair and you get up and you feel dizzy because of your blood pressure, maybe that was it. Or as Liston himself said, he was running around like a nutcase. He came close to me. I didn't know if he was going to bump into me or kick me or whatever. So I figured, forget it, and went down. People say, well,
and that's happened to me where I played a stupid game and I got knocked out. And what happened was I couldn't move my body. I thought I was paralyzed, and I was 10 at the time.
And it's scary.
And it's beyond scary. My dad came with the apartment buildings. He came out. All my friends were around me, and my dad picked me up, put me in the car, drove me to the hospital, and I laid in the bed. And then, which he didn't know, you're not supposed to pick up a person, but we're talking, this is 1979, right?
Right.
So he just finally my legs came back. They kept me there for a couple hours, and they said he's fine, but they said I suffered a concussion from hitting my head.
Scary. Yeah,
it was terrifying. So here, when he's talking away, see, the thing is with here's the thing.
Didn't I tell you I had a secret punch called the anchor punch? I hit him on high in the head. I did what I was told. I slipped his jab. His jab was slow. He didn't have his balance. I moved to my right to create the angle, half inch, and then I hit him right smack with the right hand, and he went down. And he said, you can't call it a fix. Now, the reason people call it a fix, they say it was a phantom punch. It wasn't a phantom punch. We saw the punch. Rocky Marciano had the best comment. He said, you can't call it a fix because we don't really, only Sonny Liston knows how hard the punch truly was. And he took the secret with him to his grave. Well, the reason why they call it a fix is Liston got up on one knee, and it looks like he went, because he's not a good actor. He takes a dive. He goes back down again. So they say, well, that's because it's a fix. I don't buy that, Vito, because as you saw when the fight was stopped, Liston was on his feet fighting back. And when you're on your feet fighting back, you can't call it a fix.
Yeah.
Now people said, well, Liston was a mob fighter. True. His mob handler in Vegas was Ash Resnick. They said him and Ash, they said it's about the first fight too, bet $1 million each for Ali to win. Well, if he was going to do that, they had to do it with mob bookies. You couldn't do it with the real bookie. Too big a bet.
Yeah.
If he's going to do it with the mob bookie, word will get out, and then the odds will slowly shift in Ali's favor, which means he's not going to make $1 million.
That's a scary man, Lou. I'm sorry, but listen,
in all boxing history.
He
most intimidating fighter ever.
He had a look on him, like he would kill you.
Well, like I told you, fighters would look at him and defecate, and then have to go back to the dressing room to clean up.
Look at that.
He fought a guy named Willie Best or Albert Westphal from Germany. He knocked Westphal out in a minute. When they asked Westphal in German, would you like to fight him again? He said 999.
We all know.
Literally said it 10 times. Like Henry Cooper, they said, do you want to challenge Liston? He said, I don't even want to meet him socially for tea.
Yeah.
He terrified guys. So when guys would fight him, they would just stand there and literally shake in terror. Liston would hit him, and then they'd be happy to go down. But some guys, like Eddie Machen, who was a good boxer, Zora Foley, and others, outboxed Liston, and then Liston's corner would put Tiger Bomb on his gloves, and they would try to blind those guys. Liston, same thing. 2 steps forward, jab.
Yeah, right, like he's like I said before.
Watch him right here.
He's flat-footed all the time.
But his feet are too wide apart. So watch what he's doing here. He's going lunge, a jab. He's off balance. He would have gone down if Ali would have tagged him there. And look how calm Ali is. Liston's in his 40s at least. Ali's early 20s. He's calm. He's not a boy anymore. This is a big 6'3", 3¼ man who's strong, and he's complete confidence, no fear of Liston. I knocked you out once. And once you beat up a bully, as you know, the aura is gone. Liston couldn't use the intimidation. And so Ali just Liston couldn't hit him. But all those jabs, he's leaning forward, he's lunging. And when you lunge, you're off balance. That means any shot you get hit with, you're going down.
Do you see an evolution of, like, I know you mentioned Jack Johnson earlier on, but was Ali
the heir to Jack Johnson? Like
no. Is it the evolution of better technique, better boxing, better?
Yes.
Right? So he went in there with a guy that is just a better boxer.
A much better boxer. And Angelo said there are certain hard and fast rules about boxing. One is speed. Here we go. Speed never slumps. Right?
Yeah, you got him right here.
Yeah. Speed never slumps. I said, how do you beat a guy like George Foreman or Liston or Dempsey, who's overwhelmingly strong? And he said, with speed, you take the power right out of the equation. You make them move. And now, if we watch it again, you'll see, I should have mentioned this, while Liston's moving around the ring, he's constantly resetting. Because of Ali's mobility, Liston has to turn, reset, turn, reset, turn, reset, turn, reset. And he just, right? So Liston missed, got to reset. Missed, got to reset. Ali's moving. It's very difficult to hit a moving fighter when you're going after him like that. It's constantly resetting Liston's stance. And that goes in any field of endeavor. Even when they talk about snipers or marksmen, for a marksman to hit a moving target at 2 miles is incredibly difficult. That's why the stuff you see on TV and cowboys shooting other cowboys with a pistol from 300 yards just doesn't happen. So listen, Liston's right there. He's not protecting himself, off balance, continually moving, resetting. He's only throwing one punch at a time. Ali's moving too quick for him. Liston wants him just to stop and trade, and Ali's saying, no, that's your fight, not my fight.
So,
you're gonna have.
to
You're gonna have
me,
to.
to
Mhm.
me, and like his mindset is this, that this man has fought his whole life. I mean, the crowds are there and whatever, but he just seems like, I just don't give a shit anymore.
Right, and he didn't, and there were several reasons for that. One of which is, if you see, first fight, his contract guaranteed him, I think, 1.1 million. He ended up with 13 grand. Now, a lot of that's because he owed money, had to pay state and federal tax, and then mob tax.
Mob,
And so he must have thought then, I'm not going to go 15 rounds and have this kid kick my face in or get knocked out, because I'm still going to get 13 grand or 10 grand. And I'm going to end up, he came out of both fights owing money to people. And he was crushed, as you can see there. He wanted a chance. But that look of disappointment is not from this fight. It's from, if I would have fought him 6 months ago, I could have taken him.
this is the famous poster everybody had, where
Which I have, yeah, and I have an
yeah,
autograph one.
where he's Sonny's on the floor and there's Ali standing over him. And
Right,
I
by Leo
always,
Lifer. I call it Ali Ascendant.
yeah, as I got older and the more I watched Sonny Liston and the stories I'd hear about him, I I I looked at him differently. Like I didn't have that look of, yeah, he killed the monster, and yes, he was a scary guy, but he he was used and abused.
Right, but there's no doubt this guy was a thug. He beat people up. He did it before he worked for the mob. He did it when he worked for the mob. But I don't know if a boxer, Vito, ever that went up to the mob and said, "Can you look out for me?"
Yeah.
Because all those guys, when people say to me boxing was better when the mob controlled it, I always say, for whom?
For who?
Because those guys ended up broke with no money.
Yeah,
Same as Liston. Liston fought for free here and for the other fight, and there's nothing he can do about it. He's not going to get another chance. And because of this, he never got a shot at the big time again. No one would let him near the title.
Yeah,
And
he ended up, guys back then, a lot of guys ended up not only broke, but with a broken brain, broken spirit.
yeah, no one gets out of it unscathed in terms of their brain. Liston did things in reverse. Usually you win the title and clean out the heavyweight division. What he did was, because Patterson wouldn't fight him for 4 years, he beat every good heavyweight in the world and then fought Patterson. So, really, although he won the title in 1961, he should have had a chance in 58, 57, because he should have held it for at least 7 or 8 years.
Yeah, like like
he was also afraid of the Muslims, because before the fight, there were rumors that Muslims were coming up. This was just after Malcolm X was assassinated. Muslims were coming there to Lewiston, Maine, and they were going to take out Sonny Liston. There's no doubt that the figh, the Fruit of Islam, the military wing, met with Liston before the fight. So who knows what was said. But as one of the writers there, Jerry Eisenberg, said to me, Liston had the mafia backing him. Why would he be afraid of anyone? Liston had all these hired killers with him. I mean, they're not going to back down from the Muslims. Right. So, it was a scary time in American history.
Look at him. Nobody did what he did. Like, he'd yell out to the audience, the crowd. And it was just, I mean,
right. You have to understand, this is right after JFK is killed. This is 2 years later. The decade was up for grabs. Ali was now part of the youth movement, which started on college campuses, the civil rights movement, and the anti-Vietnam War movement. So now he grabs the decade, and it belongs to him, because now he's a spokesman for all of them. And he never denigrated an opponent after he beat him. He didn't denigrate Liston. He just said, Liston leaned forward, he's off balance, and I caught him with a good shot. When he went back to his corner, he said to his brother Rahman, did I hit him? And Ramos said, yes, his shoulders shook. His
Right.
knees buckled when you hit him. It was just the way Liston got back up on one knee and fell back. That's Angelo Dundee in the far left there. That's why they called it a fix. And it wasn't a fix. Fixed fighters don't get back up. They lay in the canvas. Liston got back up and was punching back. The reason it was screwed up, as I said, is because Nat Fleischer injected his own opinion, which he shouldn't have, and Walcott listened to him and stopped the fight.
Yeah, it looked complete chaos. Like the referee didn't know what the hell was going on, and like the rules are simple. Go to your corner, stay there while I.
And Ali didn't. A real ref would have
No,
said,
yeah, he didn't.
would have said, Muhammad, I'm deducting a point if you don't go to your corner, and it's your first warning. And then the next time, that's 2 points. Or he could have said, if you don't go to your corner now, the fight's over.
Yeah, I'll disqualify you.
I'll disqualify you. And then he has to go. But he didn't do that. Walcott didn't do that. And so it becomes a controversy.
Now, before I tee up the next fight, and it'll just be the highlights, and it's going to be Frazier and Ali, number one. The one where Ali gets his jaw broken.
Well, no, Ali got his jaw broken against Norton, not against Frazier.
Didn't he get his jaw broken against?
It was swollen, but it wasn't broken. That was the reason for the fight in the studio before the second fight.
Yeah, that's right. I was going to show you.
Remember, because they had agreed before the second fight, when they went in the studio on ABC of Howard Cosell, they handshake agreement. We're not going to talk about the hospital stays. Okay, and they both agreed. And they're sitting there, and Frazier said, he doesn't want to tell you he went to the hospital. And Muhammad looked at him and said, you see, this is why you're stupid. This is why people don't respect you. You're ignorant. And that's when Frazier got upset. Yeah. You mentioned the hospital. I was there for observation. I went in after the fight. I got there at 1 a.m. I was out by 3 a.m. You were there for 6 weeks. You almost died. You had high blood pressure, and your liver wasn't working well. And that was true. And you bring it up. And we agreed not to bring it up. That's why you're ignorant. That's why you're stupid. And it really upset Frazier. But they had an agreement. Don't bring it up. And also, it worked to Ali's advantage because the guy who's angry can't fight.
Yeah.
So listen here is just, Ali's too quick. And, Liston's got to reset again. Well, look, shuffle step, turns. Instead of moving diagonally, like on an angle to cut the ring off, he's just following him in a straight line. And you can't do that with a guy like Ali, a stick and move fighter. He'll pick you off. And Liston, those are pity pat jabs. He's off balance. His hands aren't up. He's still not giving Ali the respect that his power merits.
What are your last thoughts on Liston?
Excuse me. Liston was truly a great heavyweight. He was one of the best ever. He was probably the most intimidating, terrifying fighter in boxing history, him and George Foreman. He definitely was a head breaker and broke the law. But by the same token, as I wrote in my book, Ali had a preternatural love of people because Ali was brought up in a home with two loving parents and loving relatives. Liston was brought up in one of Dante's rings of hell, beaten the crap. His crap was beaten out of him every day. He was told he was worthless. His parents didn't care about him. And there's no wonder Liston grew up not liking people and not trusting people. So Liston never really had a chance. When he was in prison, by the time he got out of prison, the mob already had a hold of him because he'd done small work for them. And going into boxing, the mob controlled him. He had what's he going to say? I'd rather not work for you. They would have shot him. And even when he held the title, when he was the world champion, once in Vegas, one of the big mob guys, Mo Dalit, said, "Hey, nigger, get over here and get me a drink." And Liston said, "No one talks to me that way." And Mo Dalit, who was in his 80s, said, "Sonny, you make one move towards me, I pick up that phone, you, your wife, everyone you know is dead." The mob had no respect for him, took all his money, treated him like garbage. And finally, at the very end, when he said, I don't want to be a head breaker anymore, I want to be a Shylock, I want to loan money, they said, nope. And Liston said, now I go to the press and I tell them everything about my career. And a day later, he was dead. The mob went over, slipped him a Mickey, passed out, and then they gave him a heavy dose of heroin. And they found him, his wife found him when she came back from St. Louis a week or two later. And no one will know for sure exactly what happened. But
yeah, it's pretty.
Liston one time was in a house in the black area of Las Vegas that was busted by the police. It was a heroin ring. And police said, Sonny, get out of here. We don't want to make trouble for you. So he leaves, and the top guy of that black mob is arrested, and he thinks Sonny gets a pass. Sonny set me up. Now that guy hates him and wants to get rid of him. So he had a lot of enemies, but once he made the cardinal mistake of threatening the mob, no one comes back from that. Jimmy Hoffa did the same thing. You don't threaten the mob.
Yeah.
He was a funny guy, Liston. He had a lot of talent as a fighter. It would have been great to see if he had a real trainer. But back then, it's not like today. Same with Ali when he was off for 3.5 years. He didn't train every day. Today, fighters train all year long. And Chevalier used to train all year long, because what happens if somebody calls and says, I have a fight for you for the title, you get 800 grand. Oh, I'm not in shape. I need another 2 months. Sorry, we'll go with someone else. Today, it's different. They use it against you. You say, well, I want you to fight Tyson Fury. When? 2 weeks. Well, I need more than 2 weeks to get ready. Fine, we'll get someone else.
Yeah.
So what they're saying is they don't really want you to fight him. They want you to be a warm body for him to knock out.
Yeah.
Liston had people like Davey Pearl, the referee, who was like 5 feet tall, little Jewish referee, who loved him and was friends with him. But he got in with the wrong crowd, started dealing drugs, and he couldn't get out. There was no way out. Even when people tried to help him and warned him. The police in Vegas, eventually, he was giving so many people a hard time. Everyone had a reason to go after him. Ali was truly saddened because he wanted to get to know him. And Liston just never really had a chance. And when I asked Angelo, he just said, it was a mob hit. Got him drunk on a Mickey first, passed out, and then gave him an 8-ball. And that was it. You don't threaten the mob.
Yeah. I mean, he is somebody that is overlooked in the boxing world until the older guys talk about him, and they always say he was one of the scariest guys on the planet.
Yeah, he was.
So I'm going
to. Part of that anger in him was his upbringing. The other part, as George Foreman told me, was he was illiterate. And when George was illiterate, George got sent to the Job Corps, and he learned to read. And he said to me, it was like having a light turned on in a dark room. And I said to George, I understand, because I couldn't read or write until I was 8 or 9, when I lived with my aunt, who was a school teacher, who taught me how. So, you imagine Liston in his 40s, he couldn't read or write. And that must have been frustrating. He couldn't read a street sign. He couldn't, his wife had to teach him, and it took a long time for him to write his own autograph. He couldn't read newspapers. He couldn't turn the TV on, and if there was a caption on something, he couldn't read it. And that's incredibly frustrating.
Yeah, and back then there was no help. I mean, all right, no. So here...
And he never went to school because they didn't allow that back then in Arkansas.
Yeah. Okay, here I'm going to start. This is 1971. This is just highlights of the Ali Frazier fight.
Yeah.
1971.
I was just talking to Angelo's son, Jimmy Dundee, the other day. He was there.
Just turn it down.
And the thing is, Ali, I gave him the first 5 rounds. He's out punching Frazier.
But I've always loved Frazier's style.
Right. And George Chevalier pointed something out to me about Frazier. I said, who was the toughest fighter that you fought, not in terms of strength, but hardest guy to hit? He said, Frazier. Why? He said it's impossible to time him. He's always bobbing and weaving and moving back and forth. And Ali's hitting him there, but you have to remember, Ali's only had 2 fights in the previous 5 years, whereas Frazier had something like 7 fights. So Ali's timing is not completely there, and he missed a lot of punches, but still he outpunched Frazier. After the 10th round, I had it dead even, but Ali's hitting him with all
Did you
those
see that?
shots.
Did you see him catch him there?
Yeah. Frazier had that short left hook. Frazier broke his arm when he was left arm when he was a child, and it never healed properly. So it was right there, perfect left hook. And Ali's taken them. Ali never got a credit for what he was, a tough son of a bitch. Ali could take a punch.
And Frazier,
Those body punches are
why
dead.
did he? I know why he got the name Smokin' Joe, but why his nickname Smokin' Joe? Where'd that come from?
Smoking, because he said, I'll be smoking. They said, he's coming forward and throwing shots. It's like he's on fire. He's smoking.
Yeah.
So it was also iambic pentameter. It sounded great, Smoking Joe Frazier. And there he's talking to Ali. Frazier won the 64 heavyweight medal, gold medal, in the Olympics. And he was not supposed to be there. He lost in the U.S. Olympic trial, but the guy that won broke his hand. And then Frazier replaced him, won the gold medal, by the way, with a broken thumb, and he started out, and he originally went into boxing because he was so overweight when he moved to Philly. He was 17, married with a kid. He wanted to lose weight. He worked in a kosher slaughterhouse. So he went there to lose weight and got in shape.
Can you still see that fight?
Yep.
Sorry, it just.
Oh, I mean, it froze for a sec, but Ali, Ali spent too much time in the ropes, but Ali's legs were gone. Yeah, that's when Frazier pulls his hands back. Come on and fight me. Frazier was more dangerous as the fight went on, and he got lower.
But do you see the contrast between one guy that wants to rip you apart to the other guy saying, "Meh." I mean, he just had a killer instinct.
Right, but you have to remember, that's not prime Ali. This is a guy who should have had 3 more fights, 3 or 4 more fights to get his timing back. So
Look at him. Did you see that?
Yeah. But I said to Angelo, why didn't you? And he said, we didn't have the 3 more fights for 2 reasons.
Lou, did you see what he did? Watch what he does.
No, I saw that. I've
He
seen this
grabs
fight hundreds of times. I saw it when it originally happened on pay-per-view or on closed circuit. The problem was,
why did he do that? Did he want him in a position?
He wanted to get his hands down so he can get at his head, like, come out and fight me. Come out of the corner. The problem is, as Angelo said, the Nation of Islam needed the money, wanted the money, so they wanted Ali to fight for the title sooner. See that? 2 great lefts in a row and a right hand. And also Ali's legal bills for his legal fight, which he won, were so prohibitive. He needed the $2.5 million to get back in it.
Look at that.
He was landing a lot of shots on Frazier. One judge had 11-4 Frazier, which is ridiculous.
He just
I had it 8-7 Ali, but I could also see it being a draw. But the knockdown, people say, well, the knockdown won him the fight. Yeah, but that's 1 round right there.
Look at that right there. Look at that.
That one hurt him in the 11th round. But Ali's still up. He's still taking it. He's still taking those punches. Any other heavyweight is out cold. But Ali's taking it. Ali's not any other heavyweight.
But look at Frazier looks like a pit bull that just...
He is, but look at his face. It's all swollen. You also have to remember, Frazier fought the fight blind in his left eye. Frazier had been blind for a long time.
Wait a minute. He was legally blind, or are you talking about during the fight?
Legally blind.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Fought with just one good eye. And
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
because that is just that is quite the handicap to have.
Yeah, but he overcame it because he figured I'm going to fight in close. So if I fight at a distance, it's a problem. That's why in the third fight in Manila, Frazier's eyes are swollen shut in the 14th, 13th, 14th round. He can't see with his good eye, so he's just, he's swinging at ghosts and getting really beaten up. Frazier was a great fighter, but this fight, as Thomas Hauser, Ali's biographer, said, marked the beginning of the end for Frazier because he was never the same again. The next time they fought, Ali beat him, and then Frazier fought two setups, two guys that were ranked like 40th and 50th in the world, beat them, and then George Foreman just annihilated him.
Yeah, he did.
Frazier was never as good again. This fight with Ali took so much out of him. And Frazier didn't care. He was, look at the hematoma on Frazier's left eye. He's willing to take those shots. Just as he said, I don't care about his head. I'm coming after his liver and his kidneys. Here's the knockdown. Bang.
Oh,
Ali committed the error that he'd done many times before, didn't get caught. He threw a right uppercut from a distance. You don't do that. Because if you miss, you're wide open to get knocked down. That's exactly what happened. Now you can see the right side of Ali's face is swollen. But as Ali said after, he knocked me down early in the 15th. He should have been able to take me out.
yeah, and people don't know that, like a lot of people, they don't understand boxing. They used to go 15 rounds.
Yeah,
Those were the oh Jesus.
championship rounds.
Yeah, I need to go back on that just a sec. Did you see his head?
Yep.
What? Oh,
Yeah. But he took it.
yeah, man. Like a lot of people do not know that he had a chin.
Ali had the best of all chins.
Now, do you buy that it's because of the punches that he's accumulated over the years? That's what when he was
Caused his Parkinson's?
yeah, when he got
Yeah,
Parkinson's.
I think that's what did it. When I spoke to a neurologist here in Toronto at Mount Sinai Hospital, he said, of course, I'd have to examine him to see, but when you look at it, you have to understand something. In his first incarnation from 60 to 67, Ali's getting hit, maybe 30 to 50 times a fight at the most, which is nothing. Most of those are body shots. He comes back and he fights.
Oh.
He fights from 1970 to 1980, and in those times, he's getting hit 300, 400 times a fight. A lot of them headshots. Times what, 40 fights? So that definitely doesn't help.
Well, it was like the same. It was the same as Mike Tyson when he started off. He did not get touched a lot.
He was very good defensively.
And that's one of the things. If you listen to, he gave a great quote.
Everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the face.
Yeah, but there's also a Sugar. He said
Ray
something.
Leonard?
Yeah, Ray Leonard. He goes and says, people say, you're a very smart guy. And he says, yes, but, this is after his second comeback. He said, I'm smart, but I used to be a genius.
Right. And it was, I told you before, Leonard said one time, watching Mustafa Hamcho after he'd been knocked out by Hagler, the broadcast partner, Tim Ryan, who's Canadian, said, well, Hamcho's got guts. And Ray said, yeah, but guts gets you killed. Smart wins you fights. If you're going to stand there toe to toe and take a real bad whooping, and you win on points, do you really win? So who knows?
Well, folks, that was we saw that was the last of Liston uh with Ali. It's tragic how what happened to Liston, and Ali, of course, went on to greater and better things, and you saw him just dance with I consider one of the best heavyweights of all time, Frazier.
without a doubt.
You know, um, so we're gonna next time we're gonna cover that full fight of Frazier and Ali #1, and we're gonna put a little bit of. So they used to go on a show called Dick Calvert, and
Yeah. Oh yeah.
it was very weird because you look at Dick Cavett and you're like, this guy's beyond, like he's like so boring. But that's what I guess that's what they wanted in a host. Like he was
Yeah.
very,
Dick Cavett was an award-winning writer. He wrote for Carson and different people.
yeah,
Very droll, but he was a big boxing fan. And he loved Ali.
yeah. But he was. Did you see when they picked him up?
Yeah.
So we're gonna show that next time. So,
Okay.
Lou, thanks so much. I
My
really
pleasure,
appreciate
buddy.
it. Always learning stuff.
Vice
Uh,
versa.
folks, I mean, there's so much crap out there. Watch a good fight. Really watch it. An
And you can
old,
go on YouTube and see so many great old
yeah,
ones.
there's so many great fights. Just sit there, watch it, take it in, and these people. It's weird. You look at a lot of them have passed on, but you look at them at their prime and you just think, man, things were very different. Things were,
Yeah.
uh,
These were super elite skilled athletes.
yeah, like as much as things were bad, uh, in the fight game, there were a lot of good things.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I love the deal where they go, back then you would shake somebody's hand and that was a deal. That was a
Yeah.
contract.
Your
And
word
these
was your
days,
bond.
giving somebody your word is complete horseshit.
Yeah.
So back then there was this kind of an honor thing. If people said, "Hey, this guy cheated" or "this guy did this," that would stick with you.
Yeah.
These days, guys would laugh it off, and it was just it's a different world,
Yeah.
a different time. So please watch the old fights, and if there's any fights that you want us to cover, just say so. Oh, we'll cover it. Okay. So be good, be kind, and watch the fights. Lou, love you. Thank you
Love
so
you too,
much.
my friend. Be
Be good,
safe, be
guys.
well.